Hello and welcome. Welcome to our community coaching time. This is a time that we reserve every week to coach anybody in our Pro Mindset community, our Pro Mindset Academy community, to help them on anything that they're going through, anything that they're dealing with. And I am excited to be here with you today. My name is Stacie Fletcher, and I am here to coach you. I'm here to coach you on anything you've got going on. The way that this works is you can put any questions in the Q&A and I'm happy to answer them there. Or more preferably, I'll actually bring you on live and we'll just have a little chat and we'll talk about what's going on and figure things out and hopefully help you feel better and help you figure out what it is that your brain is thinking about the things that are going on and how you can change that. Here at Pro Mindset Academy, we really try to deal with the cause of the things that are happening in your life, the reasons that you're getting the results that you are, the reasons that you're feeling the way that you are, the reasons that you're acting the way that you are. And those always end up coming back to what your brain is telling you. And your brain is a tricky little thing. And so we like to help be an outside perspective to really figure out what's going on. So I am going to start, like I said, if you have anything, pop it down in the chat. If you're watching a replay of this on Facebook or Instagram and you have anything that you would love to be coached on, just pop it in the comments section and we can either, answer things there, or we can come back on and coach you on, next week's session on the same thing. So, yeah, like I said, my name is Stacie Fletcher, and I am a certified coach through the Life Coach School. And in the Pro Mindset Academy, we specifically focus on athletics. We focus on helping athletes. We focus on helping coaches, and we focus on helping parents of athletes. But here in our community call, we're really open to helping everyone on anything. So that's what we're here all about. And so today I just wanted to talk about the topic of helping your child, helping your athlete. So if you're a coach, helping your athlete, if you're a parent, helping your child, or just if you're a person, helping those around you, especially if they're younger, deal with anxiety and fear. Now, we work a lot with gymnasts, and so dealing with fear is obviously one of the top issues that coaches have, that parents have, that gymnasts have. But right now, in where our society is at, between COVID, between election, between all of it, between riots and protests and just so much civil unrest, there's just a lot of fear and anxiety going around. And specifically, one of the things that I see with kids that I'm around is fear around, catching COVID, fear around getting sick, fear around people around them getting sick, specifically too, as a lot of them are going back to school for the first time, fear around that. And fear, in competition, all of those things. The same thing applies. No matter what it is that you are feeling fearful or anxious about, the things that I'm going to talk about apply to it no matter what the reason or the cause is. The way of dealing with it is the same. So that's what we're going to talk briefly about, and then I will bring on anyone who needs coaching or anyone who has questions. All right, so dealing with fear and anxiety. The first part of dealing with fear that's really important is understanding where the fear is coming from. And the fear that you are experiencing, the feeling of fear, always comes from our thoughts. We think that we feel fearful because of the circumstances around us, right? I am afraid because of this thing that's happening, or this thing that I fear might happen. I am afraid because of the skill that I'm trying. So, if you're an athlete and you're trying a new skill and you feel scared, I know sometimes athletes, like if they've been injured, doing that same thing. So somebody who's been hit really bad with a baseball, then to, go up to bat and really go all in can be really fearful. if you've been hit on the head and gotten a concussion, all of those things can really produce fear. But we think, like I just said it, those things can produce fear. We think those things are what's producing the fear. But what's producing the fear is our thought around it. And we know this because everybody has different feelings around the same circumstance. I mean, what a better example than our current society around COVID. Everyone has different feelings about COVID. Some people are very scared. Some people are not at all. And the difference between it is not COVID. The difference is our thoughts about it. And so when you're feeling fear, it's first important to recognize that you're feeling fear because of what you're thinking. And the reason that that's so important is because when you're afraid of just the thing that's happening, when you're afraid of, when you think that your fear is because of the circumstance, then you have no control to get out of that fear. There's nothing you can do about it unless you change the circumstance. Changing COVID, not something we can do right now, right? Changing a lot of the circumstances in our life is not something we can do, and changing another person is not something we can do. And sometimes we don't want to change. Right? If you're an athlete and you want to learn a new skill that you're fearful of, like you want to do it, but you're still feeling fearful. And so you don't want to not do the circumstance and not do the skill in order to not feel fearful. You want to get the skill. And so learning how to first get through that fear is the biggest thing. And the way that you start is by realizing that your fear is coming from your brain. Your fear is coming from what you are thinking. Now, it's not easy to change what you're thinking. We talk about mantras and affirmations, and those things can be very helpful. But it can also, sometimes it's really easy to change what you're thinking. I shouldn't say it's not easy, but a lot of times, especially if it's a thought you've been thinking for a long time, the way that your brain is made up, it's like pretend that there's roads, right? And so you have a road, and that road is really well traveled. It's a freeway. The thought that you're thinking is just this like super well traveled path on your brain. It's very used to taking it, to using that pathway. And to begin to stop using that pathway and using a different one can feel like, instead of driving on a freeway, like you're driving through the front yards of everybody's houses. Right? Like there's no road, there's no path, and you probably shouldn't be doing it. You're going to get in trouble for it. And that's what your brain tells you when you're trying to change how you're thinking about something. So it's not easy, but it's doable. When you have to change the circumstance to stop feeling fear, you feel even more fear. You pile more fear upon it because you feel out of control. If the circumstance has to change, then you feel out of control. But when you can change your thought about it, then you are in control, and you get to choose whether or not you want to continue on in the fear. So step one, understanding that it is just a thought coming from your brain. Step two, let's talk about how your brain is wired. Your brain is wired. There's the lower part of your brain and the upper part of your brain, the animal part of your brain and the human part of your brain, however you want to talk about it. There's this primary part of your brain, and its job, it has three jobs: to keep you safe, to seek pleasure, and to make things as easy and efficient as possible. And so that part of your brain is telling you that the world is dangerous because it wants to keep you safe. And right now, we have a lot of evidence in which we would say that everybody agrees that the world is dangerous, right? And so that part of our brain that's always kind of going off, danger, 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 is like on overtime right now. It's on high alert. It's like running amok. My mentor, Brooke Castillo, says that an unmanaged brain is like having a toddler with a knife. Like, it's well-intentioned. They're not trying to hurt anybody, but they're going to cause a lot of damage, And that's the same thing that happens with this primary part of our brain. It's not trying to hurt you. It's trying to keep you safe. But unmanaged, it runs around causing a lot of damage. And so really what you want to be doing is you want to understand when this fear, when this anxiety is coming from that part of your brain. That part of your brain is just gonna be on high alert. I recently had a coach suggest to me that I name that part of my brain. And so, just kind of give it an identity. And so you can speak to that part of your brain and you can say, I know you're just trying to keep me safe. Your opinion's noted. Thank you. But we're going to be okay. And we're not going to do that. And so sometimes just kind of talking it down will help. So first, observing that it's a thought, that your fear is coming from your brain. Second, understanding your brain. Part of the fear is the way that you're wired. Your brain is working exactly as it's supposed to. It is supposed to keep you safe. It is supposed to tell you that life is scary. It is supposed to tell you that new things are fearful. It is supposed to tell you that you're going to die. It doesn't really know the difference between real danger and perceived danger. It works the same way when you are in real life-threatening danger, like if you were getting mugged, or if you were in a jungle and you were being chased by a wild animal. Like your brain has a way that it's supposed to operate in those life-threatening situations. The problem is it doesn't know the difference between a life-threatening situation and like a really non-life-threatening situation. It tells you that they're all very scary and very dangerous. And so just understanding that that's what your brain's going to do and letting it do it, but also managing it like you would with a kid. And that's what I'm going to move on to. First, I'm teaching you how to do it in your own brain, and then we're going to talk about how to do this with your child and your athlete. So you've recognized that it's your brain. Now you're understanding your brain and why it's doing what it's doing. The next part is understanding how it's playing out in your life. The next part is allowing the emotion to be there. It's not a problem that you feel fear. It's not a problem that you feel anxiety. These are just emotions, and you can feel any feeling. Here's what a feeling is. It is a physical response within your body to a thought that you are having. And sometimes I am with you, especially when it comes to fear and anxiety. It's really hard to find the thought that's causing it. It seems like there is no cause. It's just a bodily reaction that you're having. And this goes back to the primary brain's job of making everything as easy as possible. So it puts all these things to your unconscious. Thoughts that you've thought a lot of times, it just puts them right into your unconscious. You don't realize that you're thinking them. But when you think them, even unconsciously, your body has a physical response. And allowing that response to be there and tuning into your physical response can help you process that emotion. So you open yourself up to it. You let it be there. It's not a problem that you're feeling fear. You can allow yourself to feel the fear. Here's a couple of things that I use. One is just describing the physical sensations that you're experiencing. My neck feels tight. I feel a pit in my stomach. There's a tightening in my forehead. My chest feels heavy. You could also use sensations. You could describe the sensations using kind of more creative words. It's dark. It's heavy. It's impermeable. It's square. What shape is it? What color is it? Is it permeable or impermeable? Is it light or is it heavy? All of those kinds of things can be helpful. And if you're really in the midst of a panic attack kind of feeling, maybe not all the way to panic attack, but feeling really fearful, just tuning into your senses. So like doing your fingers and your toes at the same time, just kind of like gets your body back into like your physical reality. And then what can you see? What can you hear? What can you smell? What can you taste? What are you touching? Again, just tuning back into your physical reality will help ground your brain in the emotional response that it's having. So all of these things are ways that you can open to the emotion and allow it to be there and process it through your body. Most emotions process through in 30 to 90 seconds. So when you allow them to process and you allow yourself to feel them, they are really not a big deal. They go away very quickly. The problem is we haven't been taught to do this. So most of us resist the emotion, or we numb ourselves from the emotion, or we react to the emotion. And all three of those things perpetuate the emotion. And so our experience of that emotion is much, much stronger, making us more afraid of it and more unwilling to process it. You think that when you allow yourself to experience the fear, that it's going to overtake you. And that's because most of your experience with fear has been in resisting it. And when you push and push and push and push, and then all of a sudden let up, when you let up, it's so much more intense than if you would have just let it be there. And that's your normal experience with fear. And that's why it feels so overwhelming. But when you just allow it to be there, it's not a big deal. Let yourself process through it. And then you begin to poke holes in the fear. What's some evidence that my brain can find that this fear isn't true? What about right now? Am I actually in danger right now? Do I have evidence that other people might think differently about this? Do I have evidence that I could think differently about this? What might I think differently about this that might be more helpful? All of those things can help poke holes in your fear. So these are the things that you would do with yourself. Now let's take them and move to do with, your child or your athlete. So if you're a parent, doing it with your child, if you're a coach, doing it with your athlete. So they are experiencing fear and anxiety. And so the first part is helping them understand that the fear that they're experiencing is because of the thoughts that they're thinking, and just telling them that. Honey, I know that you are feeling scared. I want you to know that the reason that you're feeling scared is because of how you're thinking about it. Your brain is telling you that it's scary, and that's really normal. Everybody has that happen to them. Maybe if they're a little bit older, you would talk a little bit differently, but explaining to them the way that we teach our kids is that they feel what they feel because of what someone else said or did or something that's happened to them. And again, so then because they think that their feeling is coming from the outside world, they feel even more afraid because they are powerless against it. So giving them their power back, you're feeling afraid because of what you're thinking. Totally normal. Your brain is working exactly like it's supposed to be. So tell me, what are you thinking that's causing you to feel afraid? What are some of the thoughts that are going through your head? Just helping them get those thoughts out in the open. Okay, now they've gotten those thoughts out in the open. Okay, that makes sense. If I were thinking that way, I would be feeling scared too. Those are really normal thoughts. And again, normalizing. This is how your brain works. Your brain is working perfectly. Then help them experience the emotion, help them process it through. So tell me about this fear that you're feeling, or tell me about this anxiety that you're feeling. How does it feel in your body? Like what are your muscles doing? Just take a minute. When you think the thought, and then pick one of the thoughts that they said, how does it feel in your body? And then let them answer you, and if they need some help, you can say like, is your stomach, does it feel like there's a knot in your stomach? Is your chest heavy? Do you feel kind of a tightness in your shoulders? Just helping them tune into their body. And then again, even more, what color is it? Kids are way better at this than we are, by the way. What color is it? What shape is it? Is it hard or is it soft? If it were a fence around you, what would it look like? All of these are ways to just help process the emotion. And once they've processed the emotion and they've moved through the fear, and again, like if they're in total panic, you can use the fingers and toes, you can use the, the five senses to help kind of ground their body and then move into the processing the emotion. And also tell them, it's just a feeling. I know that it feels big and bad, but we don't have to be afraid to feel anything. We can feel any feeling. Here's how we do it. We process it through, we let it process through our bodies, and it's just not a big deal. And we can let it be there. Just the same as like, I don't know, like a fly. We can just let the fly be there. We don't have to do anything with the fly. We can just let it be. It's not bothering us. Yeah, it's a little bit of a pain. We wish it weren't there. It's kind of annoying to us, but we can just let the fly be there. We don't have to do anything about it. It's not a big deal. And then ask them, some of the questions that I said. Okay, so what are other ways that you could think about this? Ask your brain to tell you some ideas of other things that you could think instead. What do you think other people maybe think about this thing that you're afraid of? What are some thoughts that maybe someone who wasn't afraid of it, what would maybe some thoughts that they think be? What are ways that you could see that this isn't true? What are things that your brain could tell you that this isn't true? You're looking at all the reasons that it is, but what are the reasons that it's not? Are you in danger right now? Yeah, no, you're not. And if they're fearful, especially like a gymnast trying to go for a skill, helping them process through these things, but then even in the moment, helping them learn the skill of allowing the fear to be there. It's okay that you feel afraid. It's not a big deal that you feel afraid. Your body is being very normal to tell you that running head first for a stationary object is scary. It's a very normal response. Your brain is working exactly like it's supposed to. But you can let that fear be there and still do it anyways. You don't have to push the fear away. You can feel the fear, you can go through and process it, and then you can just take the fear with you. It can be there while you still go for the skill. It can be there while you do the drills that you need to do to get more confident. It can be there while you do the things that are scary. And you can feel the fear and you can allow it to be there and not make it a big deal. And it doesn't have to have anything to do with the actual actions you take. And then help them find another thought that would motivate them to want to try the skill. What's the reason that they want to try it? Is it because they want to move up to a new level? Is it because of the score they want to get? Is it because they just are so excited to be able to accomplish it? And help them focus on the thought while still allowing the fearfulness to be there. Help them focus on the thought that's the compelling reason of why they want to do this, even though they feel afraid. And that, can work obviously in any situation. It doesn't have to just be trying to get a new gymnastic skill. Anytime that we're afraid and we want to do it anyways, allowing the fear to be there, but then focusing on the reason that you want to do that in the first place. So, all right, I am going to take just, I've got a couple of questions in the Q&A here. So one of them is, my child is heading back to school next week and they are afraid that they are going to catch COVID. I'm not sure how to help them. So I think, taking them through this process. One, just helping them know why you are making the decision for them to go back to school. The compelling reason. What are all the reasons that's good to go through this? So take them through being able to understand that the fear is because of how they're thinking about it. They're thinking, I might catch COVID. I might bring COVID home to my family. They've heard you say it lots of times. And so when they're thinking those things, they feel fear. And so helping them understand that it's coming from their brain and that their brain is working perfectly, trying to keep them safe. Of course, your brain is telling you that you might catch COVID and your brain is working perfectly. It's just trying to keep you safe. And that's the reason that you feel afraid. And so let's talk about the fear. How does it feel? And then help them process the emotion, all the ways that I said. Once they've processed the emotion, they've allowed it to be there. You can say, so you can do this at any time. Any time that you're feeling scared, you can allow that fear to be there, and you just ask yourself these questions and you'll be able to process that emotion through your body. But now let's talk about why you might not catch COVID. Let's look at all the reasons that you think you might not catch COVID. What are all the reasons that you would be safe, that you wouldn't bring it home to your family? Let's look at all of those reasons. And then let's look at the reason why we're going to go back to school anyways, even with the possibility that you could catch COVID. And here's the compelling reasons why. And then we're going to talk about those reasons. And it's okay to be scared, and it's okay to have that fear. You're going to process that fear, and then we're going to do it anyways. And that's all right. So that's a way that you can really help your child process through some of those emotions of fear around going back to school, going to a competition, and catching COVID. Okay, next question is, my child is afraid to compete. They do really well in practice, but then they're afraid of competition. This is really common, and it's the same process actually. They are, you know, like going back to the things that you're afraid of, they always come from what you're thinking. And so helping them understand that the reason that they're afraid of competition is their thoughts. And so let's explore what it is that you're thinking. What's your brain telling you when you go to compete? Maybe what's your brain telling you right now, and then what's your brain telling you when you're actually in the situation? And just kind of go through it. Helping them understand that their brain is normal, and the thoughts they're thinking are common, and that it's just trying to keep them safe. And then moving them to process the emotion of fear, to poke holes in why that fear may not be true, why those thoughts may not be true, other ways they could think about it, and then helping them find a thought. Sometimes you can ask them, like, how do you want to feel when you go compete? How do you want to feel? And then finding what that feeling is they want, and then helping them find a thought that if they believed it would lead to that feeling, and then moving towards believing that thought. It's possible that I could think. I'm becoming a person who could think. I'm working towards being a person who thinks. All of those kinds of thoughts can help them move towards that. All right, I hope that that was helpful. We will be here next week. Anybody who wants to come on live coaching, raise their hand. I'm happy to coach you. And again, if you have questions that you want to be coached on, things, just put them down in the comment section, and I will talk to you soon. Thanks. Have a great day. Bye-bye.